Hi, I'm Adam's Downboy, and welcome to the 8th video in our guide to the D2 reprised King's Fall raid. With me are my Muthaclucker clanmates, Alba Aura, Alex, Dazzy, Electric Sheep, Tooks and Zone Runner to help me demonstrate the penultimate encounter, the Daughters of Oryx. As I've done throughout the series, I'll apologise now for the quiet voice recording of some of the fireteam members. We'll try to do better if we do any of these in future. Your aim is to kill the Death Singers, two Daughters of Oryx, Ir-Anuk the Weaver and Ir-Halak the Unraveller, who are initially both covered by immunity shields. You'll need to remove and steal these to enable your fire team to do boss damage by repeating a short jumping puzzle 3 times to collect a brand claimer buff. Like many other mechanics through the raid, this operates much like a relay race. If you want to investigate the lore surrounding the Daughters, I've linked to a My Name is Bife's video, which also covers the invention of oversouls that you've encountered as a wipe mechanic through King's Fall. As you enter the Threshold Arena, you'll notice Saturn outside at the far end, a central path running the length of the arena and 6 raised columns, 2 tall ones in the middle that have the Daughters of Oryx floating on, with small rectangular ledges about halfway down, and 4 lower ones with plates surrounded by 4 low rectangular platforms. One of these lower plates will have an orange bar Revenant Knight kneeling on it and will be glowing green. If you cast your mind back to the Annihilator totems, these are the Death Singers, whose power you use to open the door to the War Priest encounter. Now, it's a source of some discussion within the Destiny community as to how the callouts should work in Threshold, and the Cluckers are no different. Some will say that the front is the area immediately as you enter, and the back is at the far end. Others will argue just as passionately it's the other way round, and the front is the Saturn end, and the back is the entrance door area. I've also seen callouts that use bow and stern with port and starboard, we're on a ship remember, door and oryx or near and far. You'll notice in our run that we bypass this discussion by assigning each plate to a member of the fire team and using their name for our callouts. If you're in a fire team you run with regularly and can recognise each other's voices, this saves any heated debate before starting the encounter. If you're not in a fire team where you can recognise each other's voices, then you'll just need to decide between yourselves which end is front and which is back, and therefore which platforms are L1 and L2 and which ones are R1 and R2, and hope no one rage quits as a result. Fortunately, to help settle the argument, Bungie confirmed in a TWAB published on 15th September 2022 that Oryx spawns at the back, so I'm going to regard that as canon. I say that, realising that the next time I go in, half the Cluckers won't be talking to me. Anyway, with the callouts sorted, you'll need to assign one person to each column plate. I'll call them defenders, leaving 2 guardians floating, one at each end, who will be our floaters. The floater's job will be to step in when one of the defenders at their end of the arena is chosen at random to enter a torn state, which I'll explain shortly. Shooting, whether it's at the Kneeling Knight or not, or approaching it or the Death Singers too closely will start the encounter, but otherwise feel free to have a look around the arena if this is your first time. If you look at the Daughters, you'll also see that Ir-Anuk on the right has a green glow and a light coloured barrier, and Ir-Halak on the left has a red glow and a darker barrier. After starting the encounter and killing the Knight, Ir-Anuk will begin the Hymn of Weaving and start a 2-minute timer. This is a combined timer to their starting the wipe mechanic, and the time you have to remove one of their immunity shields and for boss DPS. As the timer starts, taken adds will also start to spawn in. The defender that killed the Knight on their plate should call out start and the name of the plate. At the same time, one of the fire team will be chosen at random to be torn between dimensions. They'll go into a third-person perspective without a weapon, their screen will go monotone and they will have the full attention of Ir-Halak, who will attack them and anyone standing nearby with darkness blasts. We usually refer to the daughter that's performing attacks as the Angry One. Standing on the glowing green plate that the Knight was kneeling on will reveal a spark-like relic floating high above one of the other plates, highlighted with a diamond marker with a star inside a circle. Ideally, the defender will spot and call out this as the finish plate to save time, but if they're busy, then the Torn Guardian can also do so when they get there. The Cluckers just say going to and the name of the plate as the call out so that the defender assigned to it can jump up. No one else should be standing on any other plate. Doing so will turn the green aura on the start and finish plates red, and the Guardian standing on them will start taking damage. The two Guardians standing on the start and finish plates will generate a series of 4 transparent platforms leading through the middle of the arena between the Death Singers. These platforms will appear solid to the Taunt Guardian, who can jump between them to reach the Spark Relic and then run through to collect it. When the transparent platforms appear, the taken sniper platforms and the snipers themselves will spawn in. Neither defender can move off the capture plate while it's glowing green. Doing so will mean the transparent platforms will despawn and you'll lose time having first to reform them by stepping on the capture plates again for the Taunt Guardian to start over with the platforming. Success will result in the message "A piece of the brand claimer is found" showing on screen for everyone. The Taunt Guardian will return to normal, heading back to their assigned station, and should now call out for the two defenders to get off their plates before they turn red and start taking damage, in case they miss the on-screen message. During this time, the other Guardians will be killing a mixture of Hive and Taken adds to stop them overwhelming the fire team. The Taunt Guardian can shortcut the platforming if the first defender is quick to identify where the spark is and they're running from the opposite end of the arena. In this example, we're assuming that the start plate is at L1, the finish plate is at R2, the Taunt Guardian is the L2 defender, and the Angry Daughter is Ihalak. The Taunt Guardian can run to the L1 plate and then take the usual route as shown here. But they can reduce the time taken to reach the piece of brand claimer by first jumping up to the platform before the Angry Daughter, so you don't take any extra damage, jumping up here to momentarily land on the edge of the Angry Daughter platform, and from there jump to the second floating platform, gaining extra time for your damage phase. This can also be used if you're torn and miss the jump to the second, third or last floating platform. There are essentially 2 scenarios that could play out when someone is torn. If one of the floaters is torn, then the defenders assigned to the start and finish plate will jump up to create the platforms. If a defender assigned to cover a plate is torn, then the floater covering that end of the arena should call out that they are going to cover that plate until the relic is collected, whether that's jumping to a plate to start or finish the platforms, or just killing adds around the vacated column plate. After the piece of the brand claimer is found, everyone should now look on their column plates to see whether the next knight has spawned there. The cycle of calling out the start plate and killing the Ravenous Hive Knight, spotting and calling out the finish plate, and the Taunt Guardian finding a piece of the brand claimer is then repeated a total of 3 times. The third time, the spark will be replaced by a brand claimer relic highlighted with a thick bordered diamond marker that the Taunt Guardian will need to interact with to pick up the brand claimer buff and then call out for people to get off plates. They'll now need to jump over to the Angry Daughter that's firing the darkness blasts, the first time this will be Ihalak, and interact to steal her brand of invincibility. This will show as a slam animation on screen, with the claimer obtaining the brand of weaving when successful. While they're doing that, everyone else will gather on the platform that faces Ihalak, below Iranuk's platform. The brand claimer now jumps down to join them, and with the invincibility shield now removed and used by the fire team, Ihalak can be damaged for the remainder of the him timer and for a couple of seconds afterwards, so keep firing until she becomes immune to damage again. After boss DPS, your whole fire team needs to stay within the aura of weaving so that when the hymn of weaving timer finishes, you don't die to the white mechanic, which you'll see as a blinding light. After Ihalak is immune to damage again, you should kill the adds below you in the arena. All of this means you'll need to be as fast as possible in the 3 cycles of killing knights, identifying the relic, creating the platforms and the Taunt Guardian jumping up to collect the relic to give yourselves a decent damage window. If you're unable to steal the brand from the Angry Daughter before the timer runs out, that will be a team wipe. This also acts as a tutorial, with mechanics in the Oryx boss fight using much the same process. The Daughters now swap roles, with Ihalak singing the dirge of Unravelling, while Iranuk gets angry and fires darkness blasts. After repeating the 3 cycles again for the second time, the brand claimer should steal the brand of Unravelling from the angry Iranuk and set up for damage on the platform opposite the one you used previously. After killing the first daughter, the next one has to be killed in the next boss damage phase, so it's not really a good idea to kill either in one go, as your fire team will probably use most or all of its power ammo to do so. Better to whittle down each one's health during the first damage phase to make for an easier kill the next time around, after hopefully a power ammo brick or 2 drops from an ad. This will mean 2 boss DPS phases per daughter, so running through the 3 cycles to obtain the brand claimer buff 4 times. It does take longer, but really is a lot safer and easier than trying to burst each boss down in a single damage phase. As the Cluckers will demonstrate, it's not possible to damage more than 1 daughter in the same damage phase, as you can only steal 1 brand with the brand claimer buff, leaving the other with her immunity shield intact. Once you're done, the chest will appear between the L1 and R1 column plates. You can drop the Smite of Moraine pulse rifle, Zaoli's Bane hand cannon and Defiance of Yasmin sniper rifle, chest or arm armour here. Everyone will need to be a generalist during this encounter. There really aren't any practical differences between a defender and a floater in terms of loadout. Most enemies are reasonably close range, but each time a knight is killed, taken snipers will spawn on floating platforms outside the main arena area, so you'll also need something that can deal with them as well. You'll only face arc shields on taken centurions, so if you want to use a burst special weapon like a shotgun or fusion rifle to kill the heftier adds quickly, you can make your life a little easier with an arc version. Alternatively, if your aim's good, Arbalest can one-shot crit the knights and will also kill the snipers and shoot through the barriers that the taken Vandal snipers can throw up when damaged. Dazzy demonstrates that Arcwave frame grenade launchers are also an excellent choice for ripping through the Centurion shields. For boss damage, when we recorded this video, linear fusion rifles rolled for sustained damage with a weapon of choice, being relatively safe in comparison to rockets or grenade launchers, but use whatever is the meta for boss damage. Divinity isn't essential if you're able to hit headshots, the daughters don't move about too much, but the large crit cage still provides a much bigger target. If you're lucky and have already dropped the Touch of Malice raid exotic, this can be excellent for boss DPS, as standing in the aura means you can continuously fire the enhanced final round without losing health. Alternatively, if you run out of power ammo, Outbreak Perfected is a solid backup choice for boss damage, particularly with a catalyst if more than one person is using it. A Well of Radiance dropped on the platform that you do damage from just before the boss DPS phase starts can help protect your fireteam from add damage before your brand claimer jumps down with the aura, as well as then boosting boss damage output. To further help out your fireteam, Lunar Faction Boots speed up reloads for everyone in the well, or alternatively a Titan Rally Barricade will do the same. Hunters can use a Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun or Gathering Storm Super for good chunk damage against a daughter, or use a Deadfall Tether or Roaming Super on adds to generate orbs of power. Likewise, Titans should concentrate on using their super after a damage phase to generate orbs for Warlock Wells. If you don't have a well, a Void subclass with the Bastion aspect will provide everyone with a regenerating overshield from the Rally Barricade to help survive incoming fire from adds before and after the DPS phase. For the Cluckers Daughters run, Sheep sets up on L1 and Dazzy on R1 as defenders, and Alex acts as the floater near the entrance door. At the Saturn end of the arena, Alba sets up on L2 and Zone on R2 as defenders, with Tukes floating. You can see that the initial knight is kneeling on the L1 plate. After starting the encounter and the Hymn of Weaving timer, the knight on the L1 plate is killed. Alex is the first to be torn, and Sheep jumps up to hold the plate. Alex runs to and jumps up to the L1 plate and calls that the finished plate is Alba's on L2. While waiting, both Sheep and Alex dodge the darkness blasts conjured by the angry Ear Halak. Alba jumps up to complete the path up to the piece of brand claimer, and Alex makes his way up the floating platforms to run through the relic. A piece of the brand claimer is found, appears on everyone's screen, and Alex calls to say that Sheep and Alba should jump down from their plates to avoid damage. During this time, everyone else is killing adds, including the snipers that spawn on floating platforms above and outside the arena area.
Okay, any preference on plates or whatever?
Sheep likes to be where Sheep is.
Dazzy apparently wants to stay here. I can do this middle bit here.
Okay.
Where do you want to go, Zone?
I'll take the plate.
Okay, I'll float.
Thorn. Starting on Sheep's plate. And going to Albus.
As Alex collects the piece of brand claimer, Tukes is torn. The defenders check their column plates and Zone sees the knight has spawned at R2 and calls that out. Zone kills the knight and Tukes jumps up to join him, calling that the relic is floating above Alba's plate at L2 again. Alba jumps up to create the path, and Tukes jumps up to claim the second piece of the brand claimer after his first, let's call it, practice run, possibly best described as every jump being the functional equivalent of a magic 8-ball roll. Note that, as we outlined earlier, if this does happen, you can save time by jumping up again to the second floating platform from the Ir Halak column rather than going back to the start plate.
You can leave.
Starting on
Zone's plate.
Going to Alba's plate.
Third time around, Zone is torn, and the knight spawns on Alba's plate at L2. The finish is called as Zone's plate at R2, so Tukes as the back floater covers and jumps up to the column plate to form the platform path. As it's the third time, Zone will have to interact with the relic on the final platform to collect the brand claimer buff. Dazzy and Alex, who are not currently on a column plate, make their way to the platform opposite Ir Halak to get ready for the damage phase, and eventually Sheep comes to join the party too.
Okay, off plates.
I'm Tom. Alba's set. Going to Zone's plate.
Going to whose plate?
Zone.
Okay.
We might struggle with this one.
After collecting the brand claimer buff, Zone jumps down to the platform that the angry-looking Ir Halak, with the red aura around her head and the darker shield, is floating on, while Alba and Tukes join the rest of the fire team on the damage platform. When he lands, Zone uses the brand claimer to steal her brand of weaving, her immunity shield. Zone calls out to start damage while jumping down to the damage team where they gain the Aura of Weaving buff. I'm grateful to Tukes for ensuring that the Cluckers only have 12 seconds for DPS and making sure that the fire team just fails to kill Ir Halak in a single damage phase, what with me saying that this is the safest way to do it. After damage, the fire team waits inside the aura as Iranuk finishes the Hymn of Weaving, shown by the blinding effect on screen, to avoid being killed. They shoot ads until it's safe to return to their starting positions and look for the Orange Bar Knight to rinse and repeat, this time targeting Iranuk for the damage phase.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Got it. And start.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Close, but not quite.
I'll let the rest of the encounter play out now. Use what you've learned so far to follow the interplay between team members, finding and calling the start and finish plates, and how the floater covers for an absent defender. You'll also see how communication works between the fire team members, such as calling to get off column plates after collecting the piece of brand claimer, and getting ready for the damage phase as it alternates between the two daughters.
Unlucky.
Are we going to do it in 4 phases?
Well, we could kill on the next one, and then we'll repeat. Basically, just
It's good to show when it goes.
this starts on Sheep's Plate, I think.
Yep. I'm on.
I'm Thorn also.
Would you say you're thorny?
I'm Thorny. To all this plate, please. And you can leave.
Does spikes start? spite. You're on me.
That was a spy.
Oh, crank.
Which you should be doing.
Yeah. This is where my head goes bad.
So, far phase, right?
Yeah. Now we can kill one.
I'm Thorn.
Time easy.
What's the first? Okay.
Alpha's.
Sheep's on.
Which one is the one we have to kill to stop the... We have to kill
One
the snake,
shooting?
isn't it?
We can shoot the one shooting, and then he turns into
Okay, I got it.
phase. Two phase, if we're actually kill this one. Good.
No, we won't. 7 seconds. Unlikely. Professionals.
Throwing Dazzy's point.
Who's Taz?
Going to...
Tom.
Sheep's point.
I'm on.
Got it.
Sorry, Dazzy's point again. Going to Chuck's point.
Good.
Tom.
Sorry, Dazzy's point again.
That's his point.
Going to Tux's point.
Have the weirdest deja vu.
Alright, at least I'm not jumping.
We'll have plenty of time, right? We'll have plenty of time.
Oh, loads of time.
Got it. And damage.
Well, I don't know if you can make it.
Who got that one?
Stay.
Stay.
End of the-
Try to. Fell off. Awkward.
Oh, we killed the other one?
We can't steal the
Can't steal the brand.
And go.
Starting on sheep's plate.
Sheep's plate, yeah. I'm Thorn again. Go into Alva's plate. I see a pattern here. Okay. Okay, got it.
Zone's plate start. Going to Tukes, can you get on plate?
You're not where I thought you were. Yeah.
Oh, sheep's thorny.
Alpha's point. Going to Zone's point.
I'm on.
Got it. Damage.
And up.
That's the first threshold encounter finished. I can promise that we'll hardly ever mention Took's hunter jumping to him except, and I can't overemphasize this when we think it's funny. To confirm, the floating platforms are only 2 hunter jumps apart if you're using stompies. I hope you can see from this that even with the him timer, there's still enough flex for a mishap or two without that ending the run. I'd like to thank Kyber from kyber3000.com as ever for permission to use their raid loot infographic. From the Muthaclucker clan, thank you for watching, we hope that's helped you, and may all your drops be god rolls.